I would like to remind everyone that this is how 7th Time Loop started out, and this is where we're at now with episode 8. Murder, death, horror, to the sweetest diabetes-inducing moment that you could ask for. And it's done so elegantly. They don't just flip a switch and say, oh, Arnold was completely misunderstood. No, it's like, a lot of things happen, and pushes him down a warpath every time. But a good woman, and that slight twist in direction, making it so a brother doesn't end his life, gets into the most romantic scene you might see this week or in the next couple of weeks, where our boy wants her to pick out a stone, something great for a ring for her wedding day, and when asked, what color do you like? I kind of like this soft blue because his eyes know. Looks him dead in the eyes. Do you got anything that has his color? Without even hesitating, and then the embarrassment of realizing what she said out loud. Hell, I was getting weak in the knees from that. That was sweet as shit, and the fact that you can go from him killing her in one of those loops to us building a real, genuine, romantic relationship where they're gonna be the biggest power couple. They've done so elegantly and seamlessly in 8 episodes, but you have to admit, you have to be bamboozled and stumped on how this show managed to do that in just 8 short episodes, because honestly, it has me shook, but I thank them for it. I got a full live reaction to this week's episode of 7th Time Loop over on my Patreon if you want to see my full uncut thoughts as we watch today's very interesting episode. It's over there if you're interested. So we ended last week with her joining up in the army, right? Like to be trained with the male soldiers, and I initially didn't really consider why. I was like, oh, we'll figure it out. But pretty much as soon as you start the episode, you're like, oh, wait a second, she fought Arnold and wasn't able to keep up physically. She very clearly just wants to regain the muscle mass, kind of improve her physique, because obviously if she gets into a real situation, life or death, she might not be able to keep up. Makes complete sense. She has the skills, but her body isn't able to perform and keep up with said skills. Makes 100% sense. And we get a little bit of it, and so far with what we can see, she's blending in quite well. Though at the end of the episode, with what's about to happen, with, I forget his name, but he's pretty much going to be coming in, and I mean, faces are very recognizable, so he'll probably see through it, but I kind of get the impression if he did, he probably would just let it fly because, he might be impressed that, some royal girl is actually trying to be strong. Maybe that's how it'll go. I don't know. But either way, they keep drama here without being overpowering. The big pieces of drama are the oncoming 5 years from now, what type of wars can occur, destruction, chaos, death, all that stuff is always going to be relevant in any political story, especially with princes, kings, queens, you name it. And then of course there's the kind of smaller characters, whether that's a Theodore or, oh, here comes a prince from a neighboring country who's actually a little ill and she's helped him in the past, and okay, is he giving death glares because, well, he doesn't want any man talking to his woman like that, or is that just his resting bitch face? We don't know, right? I love the idea that they keep it kind of simmering, sizzling a little bit, but it never feels like it keeps you on edge because, that's why you watch the show. If anything, the reason I watch this show is the growing bond between Prince Arnold and Risha. That is why I'm here, and how this girl is going to influence his life and let him open up, and how he'll influence hers, and how they'll become the power couple that will lead this kingdom to greatness. But there is drama. There is here's the scummy little brother, turns out, completely different, of course, but, those moments are very powerful, and it's hard to say for sure where we're gonna end this season, because it feels like, while we could have more than just what they set up this episode, I kind of feel like this would be a good stopping point as well. You have a neighboring kingdom that can't really do a whole lot by themselves, and as we learn, is destroyed 5 years from now when Arnold starts the war. The idea that basically, they rely on trading and getting food and everything because they can't really do much themselves. I feel like this is going to be the last final hurrah, and if so, it'll be interesting because Arnold doesn't want him here. He very much was trying to cancel it the whole time, but I'm interested to see if, our girl's going to be able to maybe get them to become more besties, or at least very good acquaintances, because if so, if a war still has to break out, maybe in a different way, or maybe for some reason we have to start a war, I'm wondering if we can then in return prevent this from happening, because we've already prevented Theodore from dying, which I think it's pretty much all but guaranteed he either always got killed by his brother or killed himself. Like, there's probably different times where different scenarios happened where maybe Theodore really crossed the deep end and had to be put down, or most of the time he just jumped off that building, right? There's so many times where it probably always came down to that. So the fact that we seemingly saved Theodore and now have him as such a great ally and repaired a brother's relationship, I'm curious to see if maybe she can do something with these neighboring kingdoms, and maybe this will prevent it. So like, if something big does happen, there's only really one target in the crossfire rather than burning everything else in the surrounding areas. I don't know, this is all just me spitballing, but that's what I like about the politics and knowing that there are these loops, because unlike, you know, an Otome game that's based off of like an Otome game visual novel or something, you're like, okay, here's the routes, this is how it normally goes. For us, these quote-unquote routes are her actual lives that have all actually happened, right? This is all reality for her. So it's interesting because she has these previous connections. She knows of like, oh, I treated this person, or oh, I travel with this merchant. She has all these different things that she's building, and it's going to be interesting because I'm curious to see, because at some point, not this season, maybe not even in a season 2, I feel like the author would want to go the route eventually where Arnold would have a conversation with her being like, you know, it feels like you know people before you actually meet them. And it'd be very hard to explain because as far as we can tell, there's no magic in this world. So like, it would be very hard to properly explain, but it would be an interesting piece of quote-unquote drama if they ever did want to go that route. Now, like I said, the star attraction is the growing bond between the two of them, and if anyone says that wasn't the sweetest thing ever with the whole, like, first things first, he has no interest in that market, she had an interest, he let her have some fun, tries the fruit, very nutritious, what a great way to compliment the chef there. To then that amazing scene, the fact that she's so talented, like, which one's the fake? I'm like, oh, it's probably the blue one. No, they're all fakes, and then she gets the real good shit to pick from. It's just like, the more you watch of her, the more impressed you get, but most importantly, you see, like, no wonder this man's so, like, enthralled by her. Like, she is such an enigma, such a anomaly that he's just like, I'm a wife that, and I can't say I blame him. I mean, this was another shocking episode that has me saying, the fact that we started this show with him killing her, to ending with him giving her diabetes, I mean, last 7th time loop. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode. I thought this was a stunning, hilarious, and, you know, just charming episode. Like, I just can't help but laugh when it's like, she admits her feelings so boldly and then realizes and tries to backpedal. Like, it's so funny and sweet all in one, but let me know what you thought down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you get notified when I upload more, and like I mentioned, we have that full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Brian, Azoff Montgomery, Joshua Kingsley, and Migs021, so I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.